This is one of the most effective new naval weapons of the 21st century. It has helped cripple Russia's Black Sea fleet, changing the maritime balance of power. Now, the technology behind it is at the center of a quiet diplomatic standoff between two allies, not over its price, but over a single, unexpected condition for its use. In November 2023, Greece and Ukraine announced a landmark defense agreement. The plan was for Greek shipyards to begin co-producing Ukrainian-designed unmanned surface vessels, or USVs. For both nations, the logic was clear and compelling. For Athens, acquiring this battle-proven technology is a strategic imperative. The Greek government views these sea drones as a cost-effective way to gain a comparative advantage in the Aegean Sea. This is a direct response to long-standing maritime disputes with its regional rival, Turkey. This move is about closing a critical capabilities gap. Turkey developed and launched its first domestic sea drone, the ULAQ, back in 2021, giving it a significant for the Hellenic Navy. For Kyiv, the agreement offered a chance to expand its burgeoning defense industrial base beyond its own borders, securing a new revenue stream and deepening its ties with a key NATO and EU member. It was a partnership where both sides had clear, aligned incentives. What changed is that a simple technology transfer has become entangled in a complex web of regional diplomacy. The core of the deal was straightforward. Ukraine would provide the design and technical expertise that has proven so effective against Russian warships. Manufacturing would then be handled in Greek shipyards, leveraging Greece's established maritime industrial base. The systems in question are variants of Ukraine's highly successful sea drones, like the Magura V5 or the Sea Baby. These are fast, evasive, and carry a significant explosive payload. They represent a paradigm shift in naval warfare, allowing a smaller power to effectively challenge a much larger traditional fleet. But according to a recent report from the respected Greek daily Kathimerini, the negotiations have hit a serious obstacle. The report indicates the deal is now facing difficulties. The source of the friction is not technical, nor is it financial. It is a single clause requested by Kyiv. The Ukrainian side has reportedly insisted on retaining permission rights over how Greece uses the co-produced drones. In effect, Kyiv would have a veto over their deployment in any combat scenario. For Athens, this condition fundamentally undermines the entire purpose of the acquisition. This raises the central question: why would Ukraine place such a restrictive condition on a key European partner? The assessment from the Greek side, as reported by Kathimerini, is that this clause is not about Greece. It is about Turkey. Athens believes Kyiv is trying to avoid upsetting Ankara, which has carefully positioned itself as a critical mediator in the conflict with Russia. Turkey controls the Bosphorus and Dardanelles Straits, Ukraine's only maritime path to the Mediterranean. It also helped broker the Black Sea grain initiative. For Ukraine, maintaining a working relationship with Ankara is a matter of economic and strategic survival. An open-ended weapons deal that could see Ukrainian-designed drones used against Turkish assets is a risk Kyiv appears unwilling to take. It is critical to note, however, that this is the interpretation in Athens. Kyiv has not officially acknowledged Turkey as its motivation during the talks. But in the world of diplomacy, actions and non-actions send their own signals. The request for a veto speaks for itself. This puts Greece in an impossible position. The Hellenic Navy needs these drones for a single, primary mission: to deter or counter Turkish naval forces in the Aegean. A system that comes with a potential permission is strategically unworkable. It would mean acquiring a weapon that pass reveals just how far ahead Turkey is in this specific domain. Turkey's development of the ULAQ USV in 2021 was a clear signal of its intent to lead in unmanned naval systems. It is not just a surveillance drone. Variants are armed with anti-tank missiles and torpedoes designed for asymmetric naval warfare, the very same role Greece wants its drones to fill. The Ukrainian models offer a different but equally potent philosophy. They have primarily been used as one-way attack platforms, functioning like highly precise, long-range naval missiles. The question for Greek planners was whether they would receive exact copies of the Black Sea models or a new variant optimized for the crowded, complex environment of the Aegean Islands. This stalemate leaves several critical questions unanswered. We still do not know which specific Greek shipyards were selected for the leading role in production, nor is it clear if a middle ground is possible. Could a compromise be reached, for example, that restricts drone use to specific geographic zones, satisfying Kyiv's concerns without neutralizing the system's utility for Greece? So far, there is no public indication of such a workaround. The negotiations are caught between Greece's non-negotiable security needs and Ukraine's complex geopolitical balancing act. This situation tells us three important things about the current geopolitical landscape. First, it shows how deeply regional conflicts are now interconnected. The security dynamic in the Aegean Sea is being directly shaped by the war in Ukraine and the delicate diplomacy of the Black Sea. A decision in Kyiv has immediate consequences for the naval balance between two NATO allies. Second, it highlights the limits of defense cooperation, even among friendly nations. Shared values and strategic alignment can be overridden by specific, hard-coded national interests. Ukraine's survival depends on a complex set of relationships, and that reality is now imposing constraints on its partners. Finally, this episode is a clear demonstration of Turkey's unique and powerful geopolitical leverage. As a NATO member that maintains open channels to both Moscow and Kyiv, Ankara has influence that few other nations possess. It can shape events far beyond its borders, often without taking any direct action at all. Looking ahead, there are three key signals to watch. The first is any official statement from Athens or Kyiv that either confirms the impasse or, more significantly, announces a resolution. Silence suggests the problem persists. The second signal would be leaks suggesting a compromise is being discussed, like the geographic restrictions mentioned earlier. The third and most telling signal would be reports of Greece opening exploratory talks with alternative USV suppliers in places like Israel, the United States, or elsewhere in Europe. Such a move would indicate that Athens believes the deal with Ukraine is no longer viable and that it must secure its comparative advantage by other means. If you found this breakdown useful, a like on the video and a subscription to the channel helps us continue producing evidence-based analysis. A landmark defense deal designed to give Greece a critical edge in the Aegean is stalled by the complex geopolitics of the Black Sea. The outcome will test the strategic alignment between Athens and Kyiv and reveal the true weight of Turkey's influence in the region. Sources for everything are linked below. If you want longer breakdowns, the newsletter is in the description. What signal are you watching for next? A formal statement from Kyiv, a leak about a compromise, or Greece approaching an alternative drone supplier? Let us know in the comments.